Before management actually brings this limited layoff policy into place, they'd like to evaluate other options. One of the options they'd consider is what would happen if they made the promise to the employees that they would not let go more employees than they would hire. So in essence, what they're saying is we may let people off here and there, but we'll make sure by the end of these 6 months that we actually have the same staffing, if you will, or more. So in essence, these people could get their job back. We just want some flexibility from month to month. Well, the first thing we need to consider in addressing this particular option is to take out the option prior to this. Now we could either start from the base model and be making copies of it by making copies of the tab at the bottom, and that is by dragging this over while holding the control key, or by right-clicking and moving our copy and then making a copy in here. We're actually not going to do either. We're actually going to remove the previous option. The way we're going to do that is certainly delete the parameter. We could also make note that this parameter is no longer in use, but if you simply left it that way, the average user of the model would think that that's actually occurring. So let's go ahead and delete this in this case. And of course, the way that parameter was brought into the model was pretty simple. It was actually in solver. It was simply a solver constraint, and you can see which constraint it is because we removed the reference. And you can see now it has a problem with referencing the right side, or where that 2 was typed into a parameter. Let's go ahead and delete that particular constraint. And to be sure, let's go ahead and solve this, and this should take us back to our original solution. And you can see here the difference is 0. Now the question is how to implement this new restriction. Well, if we can hire and fire at will, but we have to make sure that we have at least as many as we started with. One option would be to simply add the constraint that the month 6 workers available would have to be greater than or equal to the month 1 beginning inventory of workers. And that would work. Another option, which is the one I'm going to do, is to total up the number of employees hired and fired, because this is more specific to what they've addressed. So let's sum up those workers that have been hired over the 6 months. And let's copy that formula down so we have a total of the workers laid off. Now if you again read the requirement here, what they're saying is that we can hire and fire, but you must hire at least as many as you fire over these 6 months. So in essence, what we need to do is make sure that our hiring is in excess of firing. Let's go ahead and go to the solver. Let's add a constraint that the amount hired has to be greater than or equal to the amount fired over those 6 months. At this point, we should be able to just press OK and go on this. We found a solution. We have in fact hired and fired exactly the same amount. We have 33 employees at the end, as we have at the beginning, and it has cost us, in essence, about $37,000 to implement this. So certainly from a standpoint of comparing options, it's cheaper for management to go with the previous option of not firing more than 2 in any given month. Note this also, like the previous solution, has an effect on our production, and you'll note that our ending inventory is much higher in the first 3 months as we tend to build up storage or build up units to sell in some point in the future.